This week on Supercars Talk, I discuss how we should go back to Calder Park and show you what a real Coke car looks like. Once again, we had some e-racing last week. The difference this time was we had an oval race. We did have the Daytona Roval thing, but we did have a proper oval race at Charlotte, and it was awesome. I thought that race was actually really good. Everyone was running kind of close. It was a bit of kind of pack racing. Kept me on, let's not get carried away saying the edge of my seat. This is e-racing, but that race definitely kept me interested. Didn't end up playing on the phone or fast forwarding any of it, which I have been known to be doing over this eSeries. And then we went to the Daytona Roval. We had one race at Charlotte, then the two races at Daytona. And as soon as you started putting in, left and right turns with the Roval, the field started to separate. The really good guys started to get away and things like that. It kind of went back to what the E-Series has been most of the way through, where you have a really interesting first lap or two, and then it kind of settles into its thing, and you have your compulsory pit stops for no reason, and then you might have an exciting last lap or two. But I thought the oval race at Charlotte was really good, and it got me thinking. I've for ages said this is a dumb idea, that watching the Supercars race around the Calder Park Thunderdome. For ages, I'll put my hand up and say yes. I've been one to say that is ridiculous. I'm kind of changing my stance now though, and I think maybe somehow could we get Calder Park back up and running and having an actual Supercars race around the Thunderdome. It could be really interesting going off what we saw there at Charlotte. Also last week they had the Celebrity E-Race. I watched like the first lap and there was people crashing, and I didn't care. So I didn't watch any more of it, I'll admit that. What was interesting though, Neil Crompton was in a Coke car and it had a proper Coke paint job. Unlike the abortion thing that Chris Pith is driving around this year. I shouldn't really call it an abortion. It's just a red car with Coke written on the side. That might have been fine in the 1960s when, sponsorship was first starting. You might have got away with it in the 70s and 80s, 90s, and now, 2000s. Now we're in the 2020s essentially. It doesn't cut it. Like, it's just wrong having a paint job like that. I'm really surprised that through the little we get to see it on the TV, that they have just left that the same over the E-Series. It doesn't, there's all these questions of this team and what's happening, and they're still located in Queensland, but they're called Team Sydney and all of, this stuff over the top of them. It doesn't help the cause at all when you put out a car that looks like that. It would be so easy to do like, a Wayne Gardner tribute kind of thing or whatever, just make it look like the paint, make it look like the sponsors there on the car properly and it's there to stay. At the moment, it looks like it's a bit of a, this is what you could, this what your sponsor could look like down the side of the car. It doesn't look like it's a proper, it's a proper deal. It looks like it's a quick slap together thing. That's okay when it was a quick slap together thing possibly at the start of the year, but by now we should be doing something properly with it. Just fingers crossed that they do something proper with it before we see the cars really on track again. But they could be playing around with liveries and things like that while we're in this whole E-Series thing, because it's a lot easier. Well, it has to be easier doing it on the eSeries because you've got to design it and then sticker up a car. At least in the eSeries, you just design it and it's there, it's ready to go. So we could be having it going around the track, seeing different things. That's all I'm going to say on this topic for today because I've gone on about it quite a few times and I'm getting bored of it. The plan for this week was to race at Imola and Interlagos. Both of them, one's a current F1 track, one used to be an F1 track. Apparently Imola has got the arse and we won't be seeing them race at Imola. They are having a bookface poll as a fan vote for what track. And these are the options. So we had Phillip Island versus Watkins Glen for the first round of voting. Phillip Island beat out Watkins Glen. Once again, people shouldn't be allowed to decide these things because Watkins Glen had better racing than Phillip Island. Yes, Phillip Island is the better track, but the better racing happens at Watkins Glen. Now, the second round of votes is Spa or Michigan. We've seen Spa in the eSeries. Michigan is a super speedway like Daytona. The racing will be junk around Michigan because they're flat out the whole way. The racing was good at Charlotte because they at least had to lift or slightly brake or down change into the corners. There was a little bit of, Michigan will just be in a car with downforce like a supercar. They'll just be wide open, flat on the throttle every lap. So thankfully, currently, as I'm filming this, Spa is leading the voting, but that's the fan vote track is between Phillip Island and Spa. There is a track called Tsukuba on iRacing. I know that track well off Gran Turismo. They could be racing around that, and there would be great racing around that because it's a nice, tight little track, like your Simmons Plains or Wanneroo, where we see great racing every year because it's nice and tight. The cars are all bunched together. Why can't we try this on? Why do we have to go to these big Formula One or motorcycle tracks like Phillip Island? The race, yes, they're great tracks and the cars look great there, but the racing is junk. There's no more to it. Just put the cars on a nice tight track and let's see them go for it on the iRacing. And if they trash each other, who cares? Because you just press Control-Alt-Delete or whatever and go back to the pits and you have a brand new car. It's not like in the real world where the cars are trashed. So anyway, that's some rants for this week. Apparently Shane Van Gisbergen is now leading the championship, whatever that means. Scott McLaughlin's in second, Cam Waters is in third, and Anton De Pasquale is in fourth. Of course, the good guys at Sim Racing are at the top. No surprises there. Let me know what you think about racing on ovals, or whether, maybe you think that it is good to watch these cars race around the big Formula One tracks rather than, trialling some different kind of short tracks. Let me know in the comments. Email address supercarstalk@gmail.com. And until next time, I'll see you later.